and welcome to episode 509 of the God is a Geek podcast. My name's Adam Cook, and I am joined this week by the lovely Christopher Hyde. Hi, Chris. How are you?
I am, well, ready for 509. Let's do this thing.
Let's do this. Shall we do this, Mick Fraser? How are you?
Well, we're all here. We might as well do it.
Well, that is. I mean, there's
keep that up.
There's there's as good a reason as any, isn't it? That's supposed to do a
I'm
podcast.
certainly doing nothing else right now. So
I think we've got like quite a smorgasbord of games this week to discuss in terms of like what they are, when they are, almost, if that makes sense. And if you've seen the title of the podcast, that might give you a bit of a giveaway. We're going to start off by talking about a game that Mick's been previewing. And I have been sort of getting the usual Souls-like texts off him but not quite as angrily. Because Mick, what have you been playing? You tell the people what you've been playing.
I've been playing Wolong Fallen Dynasty, which, I when the full game hits, you will get the text. I'm sure. You know how it goes. We've been doing this for a long time. I think you and I are destined to do this forever.
I think it's just a thing. It's just our thing now.
It wouldn't feel right, would it?
But no,
if you didn't do it.
No.
To be fair, I mean, it's only the first. I don't know if the preview build, because I don't think this is a public demo, this one. So I don't think the preview build is necessarily the first two stages, but it feels that way because it does. We weren't allowed to show, and I don't think we're really allowed to talk about the first stage that's in the preview build. It was just for us to get a feel for it, but it felt like the beginning of the game, but it doesn't feel as punishing so far as Souls-likes usually are. It's not really a Souls. I don't like calling Neo. It's not Neo. I should say that it's not Neo 3.
I wondered where you were going then. I was like, this isn't Neo 3. That's what we've been calling it. But
yeah, I never liked really referring to like Neo and Neo 2 as Souls-likes, because I know they have a lot of the characteristics, but they're a lot more. It's Team Ninja is really doing their own thing in a lot of ways.
Could we call it Souls adjacent? Because
I
do agree with you. I feel like of all the series that have attempted Dark Souls, Bloodborne, Elden Ring, I think Neo, which this isn't Neo, obviously, just to be completely clear, probably has been one of the more successful ones, certainly in terms of reception and audience, I feel.
Well, I think Team Ninja, because a lot of it is borrowed from Ninja Gaiden, which I guess younger gamers might not even necessarily remember when Ninja Gaiden was good, because it was at one point. Ninja Gaiden 2, I think, was probably the cream of the crop. It was fantastic, and obviously Team Ninja have borrowed. Well, not borrowed, it's theirs, but they've taken a lot of what they learned in that and what they applied in that game into Neo, which is what I said quite a lot in my Neo 2 review. So Wolong Fallen Dynasty is them, and I think the reason that you think of Neo straight away, and you can't not really, and when you guys play it, which I'm sure you will, you'll see 100%. Why, because unless I don't know if you guys picked up the demo before, because there was a demo a while back on PS5, I think,
and Xbox. No, it was timed. It was like a limited time. I can't remember what event it was tied to, but it was like, hey, play our demo. And then I downloaded it, and then I sat down one day, booted up, and it's like, why isn't this? It was yesterday, wasn't it? It was yesterday. It finished.
So it is kind of unfair to say, but I mean, I said that in my preview that it's not just Neo 3. It isn't, but it does carry a hell of a lot of stuff over. Like, obviously, this is China, not Japan. It's set during the Three Kingdoms era, sort of, but it's the Neo type version of that. So it's demons and monsters and witches and wizards and that sort of stuff. So it's a very fantastical version of the Three Kingdoms era, which is why a lot of people I've seen have sort of likened it to Dynasty Warriors in some ways, because it is that era and it is that same kind of
steady on.
But it's that kind of aesthetic. So. But I mean, it plays like the Neo games play. It's really, really fast. You know how Neo was just not like Dark Souls games are games for taking your time in generally. I know crazy people speedrun them, but generally speaking, you're playing a Souls game or a Souls-like for the first time, you take your time, you keep your shield up. Whereas in the Neo games, a lot of the onus is on speed and playing aggressively. And what Wolong does, what they've taken specifically from Neo, apart from all there's so many spells and stuff in it, but what they've taken from Neo is that sense of speed and aggression. So you can't even, and it's really good because it balances that with kind of what Sekiro did. So a lot of Sekiro, a lot of people, myself included, struggled a little bit with Sekiro because it relied so heavily on that parry mechanic. Like it's so built around parrying that if you don't pick that up, if you don't learn that and play that way, you're going to have a really hard time. Probably not make it through the game.
It's maybe like when people always talk about difficulty in games. I would almost argue that Sekiro is the poster child for it, because this is a game that literally says you play on our terms or you don't play at all.
Yeah. Whereas the other ones, it's like there are multiple ways to get around.
You can go
this.
sword and board, you can go magic. I mean, Bloodborne's similar, I suppose, because you know, I mean, there is a shield in it. It's pointless. You know,
that's aggressive as well, isn't it? But
I feel like with FromSoft, I almost feel like what they did is where they hit Bloodborne and like, it was so clearly beloved and everyone adored it. They almost took bits of Bloodborne and splintered outward. Like they made Sekiro based on the gun parry, that they realised, we could make a game revolved around that. And you know, Elden Ring has bits of I don't know. It's one of those. It'll always be strange to me that Bloodborne exists as this kind of one done thing, and in an era of remakes and re-releases, it's never come to PC, it's never come to PS5, it's never had any kind of PS4 Pro update. It just exists and that's it. And we're not here to talk about Bloodborne. I will say, Wolong
or Neo or Sekiro.
when I look at like this, I know it's you playing it as well, so maybe it's a particular play style. But the thing about Wolong that really makes me want to play it like desperately is that yes, I can. Look, there's no point pretending. Oh, it's not a Souls game. It doesn't play. You can see the elements of it, but I will say that whether it's the way you're playing in the footage people have seen, or whether it is this game, I feel like there's. Because my complaint has been, for the longest time, this genre isn't that new. It's just a different take on the old-fashioned action-adventure hack-and-slash genre, where they call it Masocore now, this genre. This game looks like it's taking that back towards my preferred direction a little bit. Like, it looks more... You mentioned Ninja Gaiden, which was a bloody hard game at the time. But back then... those of us who are old enough, we would have grouped those Ninja Gaiden games in with the likes of Devil May Cry. And then, like, modern-wise, you would have gone Bayonetta. It would have been one of those, but like a really hard one of those. When you really boil it down, the FromSoft Dark Souls stuff, what they've added to it in terms of that genre is the death cycle, the mechanics.
The stakes, that's what they've really added.
They've changed. Like, you know, it's not you
and
died,
the pacing
checkpoint.
Point that you mentioned, I think, is relevant as well.
Yes, but this Wolong looks almost like it looks faster. There's a jump button clearly, and it looks smooth. It doesn't look like a game where you're walking around with a sword going, okay, what's around this corner at all. It looks open.
It's very much not, and you can't really do that because what it does, it takes the parry mechanic from. Is very similar to Sekiro in that there are certain attacks that enemies do that if you don't parry them, so I just say a normal attack you just hit on. I was playing on PC, so you just press B on Xbox controller, or circle on a PlayStation controller, and you do a parry. The parry window is really very fair. For a Sonic, it's really relaxed.
Don't say that because you know what bloody happened.
Can't do it.
No, not that. I'm thinking more that they'll change it.
Oh right,
and people will complain it's too easy, and they'll change it to like. Oh, because like that's an exciting thing to hear. I love it when a game lets you adjust that kind of thing, like the parry window timing. Games sometimes do that, and it's really nice to see.
It's not easy. I wouldn't say it's easier, but it just feels fairer. Like it doesn't punish you for being a split second out.
Your texts to me would suggest it's not easy.
I know. Well, that
particular boss. Yeah.
So like, but the thing is, because normally when you're parrying attacks, you kind of, so you have to parry because the stamina meter is built into parrying and attacking together. So the stamina meter is called the spirit meter. And it's an empty meter, and one half of it goes red and one half of it goes blue. So if you get hit, or you cast a spell, or you jump, or you block, it fills up the red. If you attack and use parry correctly, it fills up the blue. If you get it full red, you get stunned or dazed. If you get it full blue, you do more damage and you're faster.
That sounds a bit like Sekiro.
It's
There was you
they've
expanded
taken
that bar,
cues.
didn't you?
Yeah, they've taken cues for sure.
So like, sorry, the bars, like, if I get like hit and stuff, or I miss a parry and stuff, and the red bar goes up, does it ever come back? How do I get it back down?
Right. So it's always trying to get itself back to neutral.
Oh, okay, right.
Oh, so it's kind of fighting against the neutral almost.
Yeah.
Okay,
so
fine.
if you stop attacking and back off, it'll start slipping straight back to neutral. If you've been hit a few times or blocked a few times and it's in red and you back off, again, it goes back to neutral.
Okay. But I'm sort of playing and pausing the video version of this podcast for people that you can see the second bar on the screen. Like right now, it's in red, means you've taken damage, and you could, if you get hit again.
Big shit.
Yeah, it does. It looks like you're like in this video, you're about to go stunned, but you're staying away, and the bar's reducing. I see. So
okay.
And then you've hit, and it's gone straight back to neutral. Oh no, it looked like you killed someone, and then it went straight back to neutral, and you can start then building it into the opposite direction. I guess that's interesting and clever.
Well, the interesting thing is that
some live analysis there, by the way.
Production on this is superb. It really is.
So yeah, every enemy has the exact same bar as you, and it does the exact same thing. So if they hit you, theirs goes blue. If you hit them, theirs goes red. So the bosses do, well, every enemy does it, but specifically the bosses do these great big red coloured attacks, which if you don't parry them, they take massive damage. You take massive damage for it. So during the boss fights, if you don't parry these and then counterattack in the window that gives you, you're chipping away at the boss for ages. Like standard attacks do. I mean, I don't know if you've got that footage, but the standard attacks you do on bosses are nothing. You're throwing, darts at a colossus. It's doing nothing. So you kind of have to goad the bosses into giving you those big attacks. So you'll back off and hit them with spells, or you'll nip in and do little hit and run tactics, and you can kind of feel the boss getting more and more pissed off and aggressive with you, and it will become more aggressive, and then all of a sudden you'll get that big red flash and it's going to hit you. And then in order to parry those, you can't just press the button. You have to press the button and towards like the incoming attack at the same time. So you get that kind of it's like a really satisfying feedback that you haven't just pressed a button and done it. You've gone at them at the same time. And then you'll always get an animation where, your character does the parry and block. And then if you feel they're red up at that point, you get the circle, which looks just like the orange circle in Sekiro, actually.
Of course.
Where you hit the fatal strike button, which is basically heavy attack, and then you'll take a big chunk of their health off.
I have to say, it looks bloody great. Like the animations and how smooth
and
it looks.
And everything. I'm well up for this.
It's so smooth. Like it really feels, and it's really fast. And then but on the other side of it, it's got all that stuff that you expect from the guys who made Neo. Not necessarily I'd expect from Team Ninja, but from the dev team behind Neo. You've got all the spells, which it's not on Neo now, it's wizardry. You've got all the different throwing knives. You've got multiple ranged weapons. You can switch between two primary weapons at any time by just pressing like the right trigger and up or down, and you switch to another weapon. I don't think you can combo through weapons. But one thing I was really impressed with, because it really annoys me in games, is where enemies will just suddenly attack through your combo. I hate that. And this doesn't do that. They have to block or get their own distance and then try again. And you can block, like equally, you don't, well, I've only played a little bit, but there's very few areas where you get stun locked by anything. Like you can usually get your block up on a second attack of a combo, back them off, and then you've got time to readjust and set yourself up. It's very nuanced combat.
I do have one, I guess, final question for now, because we'll talk about this later when we review builds, blah blah blah. Is it because a lot of what you've said, like you mentioned there, wizardry instead of like Omnia or whatever it is? It sounds. I don't want to annoy people who love those games, but it sounds like it's kind of a little bit less bullshit in terms of the. You know what I mean? Like all those games have the kind of read this to understand this. Like it does. It sounds. Is it still that?
So,
I mean, I don't mind. I'll still play it. But I'm just curious.
They seem to have simplified certain elements. So like they took the stances away and they put everything into this
that's what almost put me off Neo, because it just felt so much to it.
So they've took the little mushroom guys away that you have to find, and then they go to a shrine. They're not there.
Really?
So now you just unlock supplies at your war flag, which is basically lantern, shrine, whatever. So you just unlock a feature where you can just trade and sell with something that isn't there. It's very simple. If you've got currency, you can buy stuff if they've got stock of it. That's it. There's no character there to talk to you. There's nothing. There's no bullshit there. Like I said, they've reduced. They've taken away the stances. There's still spirit animal summons, which you get one. I got one during the second stage of the preview build. You get a spirit animal summon, but you don't get to choose between them. But there are multiple ones, and you can set them at the flag. Between missions. But the mission setup is the same as Neo, so it's not an open world. You're not going from place to place. You pick missions from a map. You go in, you do the mission, you come out. There are cutscenes. Then there's a side quest. Or that you can pick, or you can repeat missions for loot that you missed and stuff like that, which I like. I really like that setup in there because you can grind it and you can farm it and you can make yourself stronger. So yeah, they do seem to have stripped some of it away, but I mean, it's still ultimately that kind of a game.
No, that's fine, but
yeah, I mean, the Neo games were always better with their story. I thought anyway, they had a story.
Yeah,
and they had characters,
fair.
And they had,
it was more obvious, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, Sekiro, you can't say that. No, you can't. I was going to say Sekiro, you could say that too, but Sekiro had some. It had its moments as well, should we say? Cool. Well, you can go to obviously godisageek.com. You can read Mick's full written preview. You can actually, if you're watching this podcast on YouTube, on youtube.com/godisageek, just in case you're listening to it, which is fine because most of you I know listen rather than watch. You'll see a preview and a video boss fight. Some of that footage is in this video as we talk, but you'll see a more specific look at those things. From one game that's got boss fights, though, to another, and one thing that you meant when you were talking about the kind of the bar going one way or the other, it kind of reminds me, because I've obviously played and finished and reviewed Fire Emblem Engage, okay? And there's a mechanic in those games called break, where you know, like if you... It's really funny, like as much as I've played all these Fire Emblem games, I still always have to look just to remind myself, you know, like the rock, paper, scissors thing? The weapon triangle. Yeah. I still have to almost look and just go, so what was it again? Sword beats, axe beats. And that might be wrong as I'm saying it. But that works in this game in a clever way as well. So like if you break someone by using the correct weapon against, their, whether it be sword against axe or whatever, because although it's turn-based, it's not like a turn-based RPG in terms of they wait to have their turn. It just means you are taking your turn on this opportunity. And if you go into a quick battle with someone and you go to do your turn, they can hit you back. It's that kind of thing. And so if you break them, that stops them from being able to counter until the next turn. So it means that you can actually then wade in on them if you've got characters that otherwise would get hit first and die. Do you know what I mean? So it's quite. There's a lot of that. There's been a lot of talk about Fire Emblem Engage, and I would say that for me, I actually think this is my favourite since Awakening. I think there's two kinds, it seems, of Fire Emblem fans these days, and there's the ones, and I would say I probably fall more into this category, who are more interested in the battles and the mechanical aspects and the tactics gameplay, because that's what they were. And there's the people who don't, do like that, but they prefer the story side. And I think what you're going to see from this game is a bit of a... look, I like the story, and it kept me playing. I didn't say an awful lot about it in the review because I didn't want to spoil it, because I don't think there's much worse a genre you could spoil stories in than an RPG when you're expecting people to commit 40 plus hours and then some reviewer ruins the story for you. I don't think there's a genre that would piss me off more in than, if I were to read that sort of thing. So I didn't go on about it much. I do, there's like I said in the review, there's a propensity for some of the characters to go a bit too far into anime territory. I think some of them, just push it just that. I mean, look, not to the point where I'm like, oh, God, shut up, but just to the point where you're like, okay.
Isn't some of that sorry to interrupt, but I've not played a Fire Emblem before, so is there not elements of that are expected by fans, or is this...
Well, this is the thing, and I don't want to get into the dangerous sort of position of here we are reacting to what everyone's been saying about this game that at the time of recording is not out yet, and I have actually finished. Do you know what I mean? But I will say I have seen comments on our video review quite a bit. There's been quite a lot of them that have left me a bit surprised, because if they're from fans of the games, I sort of want to say, did you definitely play the last few games? Because they're all kind of like I've not played a Fire Emblem probably since Awakening, where I was like, oh god, the story. They're always fine and good and decent. But I just find it a bit strange that people seem to be really going in on this game's story when I don't really feel it does anything worse than any of the other ones, if that makes sense. Like, I'm not saying that's good or bad. I'm just saying I don't get why this is the one the pitchforks are out for. In terms of the mechanical aspects, though, I can say, like, I think this is absolutely phenomenal. Like, it's the way. I didn't talk about it at preview because it's one of those games you kind of have to see it in motion. You have to play it a bit yourself. But the way they bring the heroes from the other games in via these emblem rings and the engage mechanics is so clever. And something, you know when you play a game in a long-running series and you're like, I don't know what they're going to do next. A bit like the Saints Row thing, where they got to the pinnacle and you're like, well, what are they going to do next? And the answer was nothing, because that was it. Fire Emblem's been going that way. Like, what more could you throw at Fire Emblem other than what you did with 3 distinct campaigns and 3 houses? And to bring these characters in as, like, options is why these people are game developers and we're not. It's one of those moments, do you know what I mean? Because it's so clever, the fact that it makes... Although you've always been able to change classes within Fire Emblem, and you could go across almost not like a skill tree, but you could almost go across, change them to this class, to this class, and you can get them to where you want to be, even though it's very clear they're supposed to be a sword and board character, but you've turned them into this, whatever. The engage elements mean you can really mix and match in a way I don't think you've ever been able to do in Fire Emblem. Like, you can have a mage now who is just a mage and they cannot wield swords. They can only wield tomes or staffs to heal or damage. And you can then equip them with one of the emblem rings that means they've actually got, when they engage, which lasts for a certain amount of turns, they've actually got the ability to do axe attacks or bow attacks, meaning you could actually get like so in Fire Emblem, one of the quickest ways to die is to put your flying character somewhere near an archer. Like, it's very, again, nothing new, tropey, whatever. But in this, you could turn one of your flying characters, who happens to be like a battle mage, who just is flying around the map healing or throwing fire at them. You can give the corresponding ring to them, which means they can cast a special ability where they can fire a bow and arrow from like halfway across the map, so they can then take out flying people like that themselves. And that's not what you have to do, it's just what you can do. Mm-hmm. And all of these emblem rings or these engaged characters have like a unique ability. They it's like there's a passive, there's an active, there's a special. They've got, as you level them up as well as your RPG based characters level going up and getting stronger. It's so deep that, look, yes, it hasn't got the 3 houses element of, hey, you can play this 3 times and the story's different because it's a completely different set of characters. No, it hasn't got that. But what it has got is the malleability with all of those mechanical aspects pulling to one to mean that you could replay this game and it would feel so different.
And it would feel different because you make different choices, yeah.
Exactly. And I will also say that the cast of characters in this game is astonishingly big. And what I get it that people were like, it doesn't always need to be good if they're voice acted. I just think it is impressive that they are all voice acted. Like, there's so many characters. And then you've got all the emblems and returning emblems, on top of that, where although they're not playable individually, they're all voiced still, and they're 12 characters. I just think it's the best Fire Emblem's been in terms of like sitting down to play it. I don't think I've ever completed a Fire Emblem this quick. I remember 3 Houses reviewing that, and it was a long game. And this one, I think, took me, I want to say about 40 to 46 hours. And like, I flyed through it. I just absolutely was through it. Like, I finished it, and I was like, "Oh, I've got ages till I can actually talk about this."
I remember you telling me, you were like, "What do I do now?"
Yeah, I mean,
like, go and play Overwatch.
Kind of have been, yeah. Like, a little bit. Like, it's
I mean, so
yeah,
like, I haven't played the more recent Fire. My last one was Awakening, right?
Okay, well, you'll like this. End of.
I know. Hearing everything you're saying, I'm like, yes, I'm so up for this. Yeah, I'm on this. I don't dislike the character story interaction. I find it interesting, but I'm all about the strategy and the leveling up of
Same.
characters and
but that's the other thing.
Mixing and matching and strategizing and all that sort of nerdy
people talk like
stuff.
The relationship's gone. Stuff's gone. It isn't gone.
No, I'm not. No, I
no,
got
but I'm
that.
saying I've seen that a lot, and I don't know where this is coming from. Everything's streamlined, but in a good way.
Yeah,
and I would argue I think one of the reasons I didn't give it like the full 10 is because there are so many mechanics in this game that it is a case of you'll go back to the Somniel, which is your kind of home base, and you'll wander around or you'll go through the menus. You can just warp to wherever things happen, or you can just walk around. It's up to you. So even that's streamlined. But you'll see a thing and you're like, oh shit, yeah, right, I forgot. I could even do that. I forgot that you could change the animals in and out of the barn, so you get different items that they leave around for you. Like, oh, I better do that now. And then sort of 3 missions later or something, you'll go back there again and you'll see another thing like, oh shit, I forgot. Yeah. Oh, I can do press ups to get a buff before each battle. Oh yeah.
Of course you can.
And I would argue that there's actually maybe too much, because I think if you do all of that every time, I don't know if you'd ever finish the game. Like you can train your characters.
Sounds like you walk it.
Well, this is the thing, but it's the relationship stuff's there. Like it is there. It's not hidden at all.
I
don't get
mind.
it.
I mean, my memory of Awakening, I haven't played it for a long time, but my memory of it, I didn't dislike it then. I just remember it was a lot of like just characters talking outside of missions and
that's what this is. And that's what this is.
It's got up to 3 between
that it's A, B, and C.
Ted and Rosa, and therefore whatever, So,
but that's what this is. You finish a battle, and the people you fought with, or the people you've met on that battle. This is the other thing. I didn't even mention this in the review. Another really cool thing is when you finish the battle, right? Excuse me. Whatever map you're on, when you finish the battle, you don't just then get your XP or whatever and go to the Somniel. You can go to the world map as well. But you go to like a 3D version of the map you fought on, and you can run around and have a conversation with everyone, including NPCs you'll never see again. You can pick up items and find stuff, currency and stuff. And it's properly, it's not like a generic 3D environment. Each one is the environment that you just fought in 3D, right? And you chat to them there, and then you go back to the Somniel, and it will tell you, there's, like it did in, I think it even did this in Awakening, but it definitely did it in Three Houses. Like, there's a support conversation available, and then whether it's between you and someone or someone else and someone else, this happens. You can give gifts to people like you could in the previous Fire Emblems. It's all there.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's just been streamlined, I would say, with a focus slightly more towards the tactics, which, again, getting back to it, for me, great. That's what I'm here for. Like, I do, I like the relationship stuff. I don't know. I guess maybe people are missing the fact you can go on trips, to fields and play games and stuff with them. But there's other weird stuff in there like that. Like I was going to save this, but this is going to be the title of the podcast. You can polish your ring.
Oh, really?
And do you know what?
I thought I'd be getting the innuendo in my game.
No, this is the thing, right? So every ring you wear is like an emblem ring. I mean, it's funny they never show a close up of the hands, but the game, by the way, is visually beautiful. I forgot to mention that, but you can see that in the videos. But every ring you got, you can polish, and they're all like different sized rings and colours, and like some have got gemstones on, and they're kind of designed to mirror and match the emblem they are based upon. Like Roy's, I think, is like a big chunky fuck off sort of
boy Roy. Yes.
Yeah, but it's like got this big chunky, and they model in like
he's
a bit of
sausage
dirt.
Fingers like me.
And by the way, you have to get the left stick and move like a little mini cloth to where you want to, and then you tap A to clean the dirt off.
Shut up.
I'm serious. You have to clean the dirt off and polish your rings.
WarioWare mini game. What are you talking about?
Right. And when you basically get it from, like, say you've let it go, they like their smiley faces. The little icons they have, like happy, medium, and the frowny face.
Yeah.
You get it back up, and you sometimes get like a little bit of bond on them. Now in that mini game,
a bit of what?
Bond.
Oh,
like the bond goes up. The whole other thing.
If you polish someone's ring, they're your friend for life.
Yeah,
it's like that.
Exactly that. They appreciate you polishing their ring. Now, in that section, right, there is you can press. I think it was right bumper, and to rub it vigorously, right?
Right. Well,
okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And now all of a sudden, the controls have changed so that you're holding right bumper and you're moving the left stick
And
to rub it vigorously.
why would you not rub vigorously?
Because it doesn't do anything different. I don't even know why it's there.
Because people will want to rub it vigorously.
People-
I imagine
if
someone
they're
somewhere.
polishing,
But
they'll
no,
want to
to
polish
be
vigorously.
clear about this, we're talking about like a full your television screen with a ring on it in the middle, full screen, a little picture in the corner of you as Alia, and a picture of the emblem's ring, who it is the most of the screen is this ring, and you're polishing it just by hitting A, and then you press the right bumper and you do that. And I never at any point worked out what the point of doing it vigorously was, because the result was always the same.
Someone's going to get off.
Someone's going to get off on it. But like there is,
Especially if Roy's face is getting happy while you're doing it.
what I'm saying is there is
Maybe Roy will get off on it.
like there's a little animal in this game, right? There's kind of a cat,
Oh, here we
kind of a
go.
dog, kind of something else. I don't know, that you can feed
Polish.
treats and give treats to, kind of. And he's got a bar that you can build up, and apparently if you get it all the way up, if you get it all the way up, it's like something special will happen. You can dress this animal up as well.
if you get it
can
all the way
buy
up, something
clothes
special
for this
will happen.
animal. You can make it so the red and blue hair the character's got. You can give that a wiggle for that to this animal. There's all this weird stuff in there as well.
Yeah.
That is like I get the feeling people think it's just a tactics game now. They've not. It's all still there.
No, there's power wash
all this
simulator by
weird
the sound
stuff.
of it for rings.
Yeah, I think, I don't know. I mean, there's a comment in the question. Is it a case by Morrigan Renfield? So is it a case that it got railed specifically because it's no longer a school, you think? Or is it because it's only one route? I do wonder. Like I say, back to the very start of this conversation, there are people who love the gameplay of Fire Emblem, and that's me. That's what captured me. And I enjoy the anime sort of story side of it as well, but the gameplay is what I'm there for. I don't know. I just don't know why people are so angry about some aspects of this game, because having played it through to completion, having enjoyed every second of it, and having come away thinking, actually, if they dialed some of that stuff back a bit more, I'd maybe have given it a full 10. I don't know what the problem is.
Maybe it's just that thing where if they change too much, people would have hated it or hate it because of that. If they hadn't changed anything, people would hate it.
That's what I mean.
You
I
can't
am
win
wondering,
sometimes with long-standing series.
Yeah,
I mean, it's one of the best looking Switch games as well, by the way.
What's that?
It's one of the best looking Switch games out there, by the way.
I was wondering, like, is it that everyone else is the opposite of me? Like they're like, well, I've played Three Houses, and that's my
No, because you said that your favourite was Awakening. And
Yeah,
I would
I
agree
haven't-
with you.
No, but I haven't played Three Houses. That's the thing. So like, I wonder if people have only played Three Houses and gone, that's what Fire Emblem is.
But it's
and then
not.
This has actually gone back to what it was before that.
See,
Not gone back.
No, Three Houses was almost borrowing Persona level
No.
of
I know
relationships.
That. You know that.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if that's part of the thing. It's like, oh, this is actually what Fire Emblem is mainly about. It's just that Three Houses did this different thing, and now we're just moving.
But again, like, I don't know, because
Would you have
people are talking about like the characters aren't important and the relationships aren't important. I don't agree at all. I think that's one thing I do think about this game is that the characters are all quite interesting. They're not.
Were there a lot of people
know.
who came into this series at Three Houses, do you think?
what I'm
I
asking.
would
this is
imagine
what,
so. Yes.
That's
I
But
would
you know how
imagine
people
so.
came
yeah.
into Monster Hunter at World, and then they go,
Yeah.
"Oh, the other Monster Hunters, yeah." But the elite players,
Like
the
Adam.
players that have been playing Monster Hunter since whatever,
Yeah.
they're like,
I
you
mean,
guys don't even know what Monster Hunter
that's
is.
just
Yeah.
one of those
Who are
things
you?
where that's one of those
No,
things
but
where it was on the
Without
Switch, and
sounding like
yes, that is
elitist
probably
'cause
true.
I'm old. I do want not
It's
elitist,
probably
but it's
true.
like I can appreciate what you're saying because I'm like, well, that sounds like Fire Emblem to me, and good Fire Emblem. So like,
Yeah, I would argue that Three Houses, and I think I gave it an 8.5 at the time. I would argue that Three Houses is maybe more story than it is gameplay.
yeah,
And I did like it a lot, like I say, 8.5. But this is kind of it. I don't think it cuts back on it. I just think it streamlines it. Like there is now a story that runs through the game in its entirety. You know, even the paralogs, even the side stuff. Like there is a feel to it where this is a connected story. So I'm not sure, but I think this is the best Fire Emblem's been for since probably Awakening. And like I said, I did enjoy Three Houses. I even enjoyed the Musu based on Three Houses, and I did like the story and characters in Three Houses. But I actually, bar a few of them in this, I think I prefer the story to Engage. I just think it's just a bit more it's streamlined. I don't want to keep saying it. But let's move on, because from a game that is very current, we can actually talk about another game that is also very, very current, but also is a remake from a game.
But also 50 years old.
Yeah, well, we were not born when Colossal Cave Adventures came out.
And it's not very many games, so I could say I wasn't born when this first came out.
But Colossal Cave is out as we speak now, so there you go.
So Colossal Cave is out, and it is a remake of a
reimagining, I think they're calling it.
What's that?
I think that officially they're calling it a 3D reimagining.
3D reimagining. Okay, well, of a 1976 game called Colossal Cave Adventure. So that was a text-based adventure where you type in your commands and hope that they were within the very strict allowed words to use to actually make your character move around and kind of explore this world. Basically, so this is the way it's been kind of reimagined is, rather than obviously just like text on a screen, it's a first person kind of adventure now. So you're not typing anything in, you're moving around freely. So if you want to go, you're in a room and you want to go west, you have to walk to the west end exit of the room and go through it. So that's the kind of main difference in terms of movement in this game. In terms of like the whole premise, that's exactly the same. And a lot of the mechanics and everything are the same as what they were in 1976, for better or for worse. And I'll go through a few of them because I think I was conflicted with this game.
I do want to just quickly shout out, Chris. Sorry to interrupt you, but I do want to quickly shout out that in chat, Morrigan has said, "What is this? A Sierra game? I recognise those mouse highlights."
It is Sierra.
Kind of the people that made Sierra Online are the people behind this game.
Yes, so, exactly. So yeah,
I guess sort of.
Yeah. I think Adam, you do too. I don't know about you, Mick, but I like the old sort of point and clicks. I even like the old school text adventures on like Spectrum and stuff. Like, so I've got affinity for these types of games. But there's whilst playing Colossal Cave, I was left a little bit flat on it. There are some good kind of traditional elements to it, but like I say, they have kind of stayed very, very true to the source material. And there's a few elements to it. The first is there's a few random bits to it. There's bits that are random, and you kind of have to kind of pray to the RNG gods that you're going to get lucky. So you're wandering around the cave, for example, and in certain rooms, a dwarf might appear from nowhere, chuck a knife at you. It may hit you. If it does hit you, you die, and you can't do anything to stop it. And you could be in the middle. You could be at the very end of the quest, and then the only things you can do is game over, start again, because it's 1976, or get resurrected, which you can only do a couple of times, and that affects your adventure score. So like in most of these types of games,
I'm kind of out at this point. Like,
yeah, I know, and this was the thing for me. It was really weird for me, but I think I said it in the review. I just, these dwarves kept appearing as I was doing it, and I just thought, these guys are just really shit with knives, because I was going around for about an hour in this cave, and they just kept missing. I thought, well, I don't quite get what the point of this is.
Then you got your wish. Then you got your wish. You finally got it, and then you started again. Is that what you're saying?
That's such a weird. I
know, and that's the thing. And then literally, I kid you not, I messaged Adam and went, I've just been playing Colossal Cave for 10 minutes and died 4 times. So like, I'd literally got ambushed by a dwarf, died, got resurrected, lost some score, but thought I don't want to lose some progress, want to crack on with this. Found a dwarf, died again, then reloaded a save because I don't want to keep resurrecting, and then died again. And I was like, this is ridiculous. Like, I haven't been hit once, and then all of a sudden they just become like ninjas that are just killing me. And I was like, it feels a bit kind of harsh when it's not your fault, and it's not like there's I didn't press the defend button quick enough or something like that. Like, give myself a chance. There's none of that. You can't do anything. It's almost like a cutscene almost, and you just got to pray that when that knife comes towards you, it's going to the side of you, because if it comes right at your face, you're dead. So that felt really like literally random. And when you're trying to go for, like, you're trying to uncover this adventure, and then something just kills you. You're like, and I think, you know, I think when I think about, I spent a lot of thinking about why would that annoy me and why would it not annoy me in 1976? And it's like, well,
it probably would have, but you
it probably
knew
would.
no
Okay,
better.
yeah. To be clear, I
No
don't
other
think I would have been a
options.
lot of more patient in 1976. But I think, you know, if I think about back when I was a kid and I had a lot less games when I was a kid. You'd almost have one game that was your game for the month or the couple of months, and you get it and you play it and you play it and you'd want to beat it. And if those kind of things happen, you go, right, start again. You know, load my Spectrum up for half an hour, whatever it is, till I get to play a game, and then you just keep going at it, and you would relentlessly keep trying and uncover certain things. But I just think in 2023, where there's so many games available to so many people,
why would you do this to yourself?
Type of thing works because you just go.
Do you know it's funny you mentioned them because when I know obviously this is a remake of a very beloved game, but I don't know, have either of you played any of the games in the series The Room? There was actually a VR one as well, because this is in VR as well.
Mobile.
Yes, yeah, it actually started I think on
mobile.
I think the first one was mobile, and they sort of got built out into, like I say, now the Room VR is Meta Quest and that, and it's. Because the reason I mention that is because Colossal Cave is also in VR, and they've just announced as we're recording that it's coming to PSVR 2 at some point this year as well. Obviously, that's not until February, but you know. And when I'm looking at the stuff you've recorded of it, I kind of feel like, you know, and it's a small team, so you know it's fair enough that it doesn't look. And also, I think that it probably needs to look a bit like that for the sort of visual charm to be reminding. Remember, it's a 70s game, you know. Yeah. But the thing is the existing, you can't. I don't think you can purely coast on what was.
No,
like I think when you look at some of the really successful remakes, like the Resident Evils, for example, like they changed more than just it looks nice now.
Well, I think it has to be an element of proper modernisation. If you're gonna,
this is what
otherwise,
I mean.
there's no point remaking a game
because you are going up against The Room, and I've played a few of them, and I've played the one on MetaQuest 2 and the VR one, and they're superb puzzle games. And it's the same deal here. Like instead of no, you're not clicking west, north, but you're pointing and going. You know what VR controls like. You know, you sometimes have to highlight somewhere and press a button, and you'll warp to it. But then you're physically interacting with all these objects, with these cleverly, meticulously designed puzzles that are like, God almighty, I need to go and look at a guide on this bloody VR game now, and that's another whole thing because it's VR. But like, you're competing against a market that is not underrepresented like it used to be.
Yeah, and this is the thing. I said this in my review. This game, without Colossal Cave Adventure in 1976,
like if you were playing this for the first time as a
this doesn't get released
game
like this without the history, because I think people would go, no, that doesn't work in 2023. Like you say, because of what you're competing against. And like I really wanted to live it. I said it in my review because I like this type of game, but I found myself getting more frustrated than enjoying it, like because of the things I was almost fighting against the game. Like there's ladders in the game because you can go up and down as well as like compass directions, right? So you can climb and descend ladders, and like you have to. There's like a movement button which you press to move forward, and then if you want to, you can toggle it to look at something and to use something. So you have to approach a ladder, change to the use, like the hand icon, and then click on the ladder to descend it, right? You can't just snap onto a ladder and it'll go down like in most games, which, you know, it's why some of Adam's footage shows me just walking into ladders and doing nothing. Because I was like, oh, okay, fair enough. And then but like there's like when you hover near an item that you can pick up, it has that white outline like in most games. I can interact with it. There's nothing like that with ladders, so you don't even get a hint to say I'm close enough. So and there's actually dialogue in the game that says, no, if you want to climb that ladder, you're going to have to move closer. And I'm like, why? You know I want to go up it because you've recorded that line and played it back to me. So like, why are you telling me I've got to get closer? And it's like, this is on me. What? This is on me, right? But one time, there was a ladder down into a I guess a pit, I suppose. So I wanted to descend the ladder into this lower level, and I was getting to the top of the ladder. and I cut the corner a little bit, the kind of thing that gets you a black and white flag in Formula One. Like I cut the corner a little bit, tried to, and all of a sudden my character screamed and I died.
Oh no!
Because he'd fallen into this pit, and I was just like, and I was just like, oh, okay. So it's like, I mean, that was my fault, but I did think it was quite dramatic.
I will say that
cut this little corner, and he just.
I think it's nice this exists because it's like from a digital preservation perspective. It's nice that game that would probably be impossible to
100%. From that sense, it's really nice, and there'll be fans of this that will love this because it's a new way of playing a classic, and you do get the vibe, the adventure game point and click vibe from it. It's you do get that, and it's got the whole sort of like witty writing charm that all that's still here from the original that kind of existed back then. Like I won't ruin it, but there's something quite funny when you get to like this dragon and how to get past it. There's some witty lines like that which are really good. So I don't want to like crap on it too much, but I think there will be people that if they're like, there's an adventure game coming out, and it's like if you've not played the original or are really fond of that type of game, I think people will bounce off it because they'll get frustrated. Which is a shame.
I was wondering about because this game is, like you said, it's close to 50 years old, and you wonder, like, I mean, we're gamers of a certain age, I guess. And even we probably didn't. We wouldn't have played this when it came back because we weren't bored. So you wonder, like, who's really clamoring for this game? Who's going? Like, you look at the Dead Space remake. How many people want something like that?
From what I understand,
this is
them kind of dipping their toe back in. Like, there's a lot of history with what happened with Sierra. There's actually, I'm going to butcher the name of the site. It is a website that is dedicated to like adventure games, and there's a fantastic interview where it's really quite candid, and they talk about, that they'd known what was going to happen after they sold Sierra, they wouldn't have done it.
I mean, I don't knock anybody doing something like this. It was just like
you just wonder though, don't you? Like,
you just wonder like who was maybe asking for this, or I guess it's one of those things where they did it and there's people now going, I wasn't asking for this, but I'm happy to go. I just wonder, like, the people who didn't play it, I wonder what they're gonna think when they go. Like, it's not for them, is it? If you follow me, it's not.
No, I think it is. It is for the fans, very much so, and either people that are older than us, they do exist, or like fans of the genre who have discovered those games later and are still very much fans of that like retro old school adventure game. It is for them. That's what this is for, and I think those people enjoy the warts and all kind of design of those types of games of that time, and so they won't be put off by that. Whereas I think you two would bounce off this game very quickly.
What I'm hearing is that it's no Horace Goes Skiing. Is what I'm hearing.
No, it very much isn't Horace Goes. That is a. Oh my days!
I'm old.
Could you imagine if they reimagined Horace Goes Skiing?
They should.
Simon the Sorcerer. That's the one I want them to do.
Oh,
that was my era. Simon the Sorcerer. They've done Monkey Island. Monkey Island's kind of been done to death.
Just do Discworld.
So the Discworld.
Someone needs to do Discworld. I missed that.
And what was the other one? And
Did
Broken
anybody
Sword.
get the name of that donkey cart? It's stuck in there forever. And anyone will get the name of that donkey cart? Number of that donkey cart. It's not stuck in there that well because I got it wrong. All right. On that note, it's time to move on because I've got a jingle to play.
Chris Hyde, listen to Correspondence. It's time. Chris Hyde. Okie dokie then. So, listener correspondence this week. We've got a question for all of us from McPoo, who says, after seeing that image of the Suicide Squad menu with the Battle Pass and general live servicey stuff in it, has your interest for the game gone down a bit? Assuming you had any in the first place, of course.
I wasn't that excited for it in the first place. I'm not. Outside of Batman, I don't much care for DC these days. I've always lost interest. But like that game, I just assumed it was. Is it Justice League? Is that what this is?
Suicide Squad.
Kill
the Justice League. Yeah.
because the trailer for that they released a little while ago, I think it was either the Game Awards trailer or something. I really hated that trailer. And it's just fucking Harley Quinn again, squeaking away. She has to be in everything to do with DC, and she's a shit character. She's great in the comics, and she's got all these nuances, and she's been around for ages. She's got this history. She's a cool character. But what they do to her in like the movies in particular, and Margot Robbie just kind of fucks around for 2 hours. There's none of that intricacy or cleverness with it. It's just we're doing a DC game. We've got to put fucking Harley Quinn in it again. She's a crazy chick with a baseball bat. She's not going to kill the Justice League. And then and so I kind of wasn't that excited about it in the first place. But hearing that it's games as a service, that doesn't bother me in the slightest. Games as a service is kind of my thing. Destiny I play.
Yeah.
You know, the fact that it's games as a service, I get why people get turned off by it. But at the same time, they're successful. Millions of people play this type of game. It doesn't bother me in the slightest. That
millions of people play the free-to-play ones. There's a distinction.
Well, that is
There's
true.
a big distinction.
But so no, it didn't change my feelings because I probably wasn't going to play it anyway. But it wouldn't.
You
I don't think it
absolutely will. I don't believe that for a fucking second.
I
don't believe that for the smallest of seconds.
I will obviously play it, but I'm not. It's not one of the ones that's on my radar that I have to have. It's just.
I think we're approaching a point where if that game is definitely out this year, which they've said it is, isn't it? It's got a release date, hasn't it? No, I think it has got a release date. But if that game's out,
Boomerang. What the?
But we need to have like a proper showcase of what this game is at this point, because they sort of need to clear the air a little bit, because when they very first revealed it, I think I looked up a few weeks ago on the pod, like the press release said something about it's a third-person shooter essentially. I think they just
gameplay, like proper gameplay.
That's what I'm saying. I think
really
we're at the point where they
is.
need to give us a deep dive into the gameplay, the mechanics, the menus. I don't really like battle passes in full price games. Really, because that to me is, look, you've paid for the game and now you're trying to get more. It's icky.
I think if it was coming out free to play, if they'd said this is going to be free to play, but
we don't know it's not. I mean,
that's true.
It definitely isn't. But then saying that, Multiverses is, which shows they do at least know how to do a service game. Warner Bros. It hasn't put my interest down in it, because ultimately a game like that, if that's what it is, if that screenshot that's around is true, I don't know. I absolutely don't have a clue. If that's what it is, if it plays well, I'm still going to play it. Like, if it's enjoyable and it's a good co-op experience, and the designed content is good, that the content they've created for you to play through is good, I'll play it. I play Overwatch 2. I play several times a week, and it's a service game with a battle pass that is as grindy as could be, really.
I just
it hasn't removed my interest. I just don't like battle passes in full price products.
I think that's my point. May, by the way, is when this is coming out.
It's because it's the same month as Tears of the Kingdom.
So for me, I hate battle passes in full price games. I don't like them in free to play games, but like I hate them. I like
say that. I don't mind that in Overwatch, for example, it's a free to play game. What else? The only thing there's two reasons to play that. One is because you enjoy it. One is to go up a level. They removed that level for Overwatch 2, and it's now a battle pass level. So I do like seeing the numbers go up. I don't really care about the cosmetics, but I do like still seeing the numbers go up. So I'm not anti. Because that's all it is. It's an XP bar in it, but with the little silly reward at the end of it. And I'm not anti that. I just don't like the idea of them in a full price game that is going to be probably 60, 70 quid. And now you want what? Do I have to drop 10 quid on a battle pass?
I still think Fortnite do it better than most, and people still don't.
There's often a sliding scale, I find, as well with battle pass content. Like the one thing like Call of Duty, for example, often what you can do is you can pay like Call of Duty coins to unlock it, and then if you play it enough to unlock all of the stages, you earn more than what you spent. So then when the next one comes along, it's not costing you anything, and all it does is encourage you to play. That I'm fine with.
That's what the Fortnite system.
Developers are always looking for reasons to make you keep hold of their game and keep playing. Go back to the Xbox 360 when the fantastic. I always think back to when I played shit, Dead Rising. I couldn't think. There's so many games called Dead Rising, and those achievements that made you play in a different way and was so clever.
Yeah.
Like they're always trying to come up with a way to prevent you. It used to be prevent you from selling your game to CEX or Game and moving on. Now it is just moving on. Like it's a service game. We don't want you to stop playing our game. We want to put a press release out every few months saying we've got X million unique players. That's marketing. Like I don't. Just make a really good game. The only thing I will say is I still have faith in that developer. They've done nothing to make me not want. It's Rocksteady.
This is Rocksteady.
And they have not yet released a game where I've gone. You know what I mean? All their Batman games I loved.
It's the
VR
Rocksteady
game
element
was good.
that would make.
This is what I mean. So I'm not ready. I need to hear from someone who's played it or play it myself or just see it in action before I am ready to feel. I want to play the next Rocksteady game. It's been ages. It's been like 7 years since Arkham Knight. I know they did Arkham VR, but like since their first big, it's been like.
I think
7
this is
years.
the thing as well. Why they need to do that damage control, because people have a certain expectation from Rocksteady games, not just in terms of quality, but in terms of the mechanics and the way like you already feel like you know what to expect from a Rocksteady game because
it's so strong is that expectation. People went into Gotham Knights expecting that feel from a game that wasn't developed by them. Anyway, no, the answer seems to be no, but we're a bit like as a trio. So yeah, there you go.
Okay, so Mick's given us each some questions to rattle through. So Mick, I'll do your Mick questions first.
In a preview sense, there's a lot of questions about a preview build of a game here. So in a preview sense,
yes, all of this is in a preview sense of what you have played and what you can talk about. Sekiro or Wo Long?
Wo Long.
Did you not get on with Sekiro?
I liked it, so I reviewed it, but I reviewed it in that way that. It was really good at the time. I was ready for that kind of a challenge at the time, but it was a slog. And it was a slog because I couldn't click with it personally in some areas. Some of the bosses just took me so long. Whereas the quality of the game, you can't kind of knock what From Software. It was a fantastic game. For me, of the Souls games by From Software, Sekiro is at the bottom. That's just where it sits for me. But it's not. I don't think it's a bad game. But I know that having played Neo 2 and loved Neo 2 as much as I did, and now playing just what I played maybe 2 or 3 hours of Wo Long, it's going to top easily Sekiro for me. There's no question.
Okay. What do you think of Wo Long's story so far? Don't spoil anything and don't say anything I have to say compared to Neo 2.
Right now, I haven't seen enough of Wo Long's story to comment. It starts off.
Yeah, look, this is a preview of the game.
Yeah,
like,
it starts off pretty much as I'd expect. I don't know. I don't know anything about.
No, that's fair.
Yet.
And would you have preferred if the loot was like Neo 2?
The loot is similar to Neo 2. Anyway, it does. It's still you still drop gear. The gear has ratings. The gear has stats and
all the different types of weapons.
Yeah, there's different types of weapons. You've got all the armor slots that you'd expect. You've got helms and chest and legs and arms. It's very similar, but again, I haven't been able to get into like build crafting and those sort of stuff, because the stuff in the preview is all low level. I mean, it's all trash gear that it's just, it might put your numbers up by a bit, but it's not anything special. Whereas in Neo 2, by the time you get to sort of 30 hours into Neo 2, you're a god and you've got the epic or the legendary stuff or whatever. So again, I don't know. The loot I like the loot system in Neo 2. I haven't seen enough of the loot system in Wo Long to put me off it. I'm ready to. I can't wait to play more of it. Let's say.
Yeah. So last question then is about Monster Hunter Rise. So do you like Monster Hunter Rise on PS5 enough to replay it all and catch up to your PC save? And will you ever go back to the Switch version?
Right. So that's two questions. I will never go back to the Switch version.
Really?
I can't. Yeah, because I'm now playing it on Steam Deck. I can't.
Oh, sorry, I forgot about Steam Deck. Yeah, of course.
I have it on PC on Steam Deck. It's the same exact experience,
but it runs better and
it's faster and smoother and it looks
sorry.
better. And so, no, I'll never go back to the Switch version. In terms of the PS5 version, it's just a PC version. I mean, it really is. It's the PC version. There's not that much difference to it. And again, I just want to play it on my Steam Deck because it's more convenient. And if I don't want to play on Steam Deck, I'm just going to boot the PC up and play it on PC. So, I in terms of like, do I like it enough to go through it all again? I will to review the Sunbreak expansion. I will play it all again.
God, I didn't even think of that.
I don't mind playing it all again. It's a good game, but I don't. If I didn't have to, like, if there was a cross save thing, that I really don't get why there's no freaking cross-platform saves.
We can't keep saying it.
We can't moan about it every week, but yeah, it did get mentioned.
So, like, so I kind of have to, but I'd rather you didn't have to do, like, every time they release it on another platform, and this is a proper reviewer complaint. This is not everybody's playing this game on 3 different platforms. But as a reviewer, yeah, it's a bit of a pain that you got to go through it all again in that, because you have to. But I don't mind. It's a good game. It's one of my favourite games of the last couple of years. So, yeah.
Fair. First one.
I don't mind going through it, but I'm not.
Bear.
Yeah. I'm not desperate to go through it again.
Yeah. Okie doke. Adam, I'll move on to your questions then, mate. Are you going to try A Space for the Unbound?
I am not. Probably not.
That's easy. What's an indie you're looking forward to this year?
Does Metal Slug Tactics count as an indie? That's an indie, isn't it? If not, The Last Case of Benedict Fox. We've been talking about that for what?
Yeah, that's I'm interested about that.
Yeah, I mean, Tin Hearts looks interesting. Figment 2's out in March. Yeah, that was announced
today.
Know
that was a thing. God, I've missed that.
We announced it. We didn't announce. We published a story on that today. That game's it was, I think, due before that, but now it's March. I'm just looking through our lists on the brilliant list on God is a Geek for the 2023 release dates. Where does Atomic Heart fall in terms of who?
I wouldn't classify that as an indie.
No, why
who's
not?
publishing it?
Oh no, it's Focus Home. No, you're right. Can't have that. Clive and Wrench. That looks interesting.
What's that? Sorry,
it's a 3D platformer. Clive and Wrench.
No, sorry, I didn't even know the name.
Clive and Wrench.
Oh right, yeah.
I was going to say Scars Above, but I don't think that's an indie either.
Can we class Assassin's Creed Mirage? Isn't that technically an indie?
What about Wanted Dead? Where does that sit? Because that game's got my attention. Mick, we've
that again. Who's
game.
publishing that?
I don't know. I think that might be an indie.
That's one for me that I'm really looking forward to.
And at the end of this month, you've got Season, A Letter to the Future, which I really am interested to see what that ends up being, because I still don't, what it is. If you know what I mean.
I never know what indie games are coming. They suddenly land, and you normally go, "Do you want to review this?" And I go, "Yeah, I'll play an indie game."
It looks good. It's Metroidvania 2D scroller.
Yes,
it's like a Mick.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I guess probably Benedict Fox. That just looks really cool, like the visuals, and it's my genre, and so that one. But no, I'm not going to play A Space for Unbound. I doubt it's going to be too busy next couple of weeks. So no.
Okie doke. Are you more excited for Dead Space or Resident Evil 4?
See, I think a more fun question before I answer is what you guys think I'd answer for that.
I mean, I assume Resident Evil 4.
Okay.
Because I think you know what you're getting with Dead Space, whereas you're interested and excited to see what Resident Evil 4 could be. So that was what I think you would say.
Okay. What about you, Mick?
Yeah, I think the same, to be honest.
Yeah,
I think Dead Space is more of a known quantity.
I think Dead Space could be like quite an interesting moment, because if they really have just made that game again with modern visuals, that poses quite an interesting thing when it comes to critiquing it, doesn't it? Because we said at this sort of talking about the remakes and stuff, how like Resident Evil 2 remade that game, but didn't just update the graphics.
No.
And so I don't know. Like I know we've seen bits of Dead Space and I've seen it in action, and it looks like Dead Space. And I just wonder if that's really what people wanted.
It is interesting, and when we talk about this game of the year, and remasters versus remake, and the spectrum reimagining we said today.
Well, Final Fantasy VII remake is a remake, not just a redo.
Yeah.
Like
Exactly.
Fans of
It's
Dead
been
Space,
remade, but it's not been remade. It's a really interesting thing, isn't it?
I wanted Dead Space back for the longest time. I don't know that it ever crossed my mind, and I probably said it on a podcast, and someone will go, "You said it on episode 427 that you wanted it remade," and maybe I did. I reserve the right to be a hypocrite, but I don't know that that's. I would want it. I want a remake, but I think it's that old argument of like, you know, when people get uppity about.
Is it remake or is it remastered?
No, it's a remake. They basically from the ground up remade the same game from what I understand.
But they changed no mechanics, right?
No, well, we don't know. This is what I don't know.
No,
this is I believe not. I don't know. And I feel like I don't know, man.
I wonder why. Like, in terms
it's because
of like
I wonder
game,
if it's because it was easier for them because they didn't have to hire a story, perhaps narrative director. I don't know.
But I mean, when did the first Dead Space come out?
Jesus. Xbox 360 era. That's all I can tell you.
Okay. So I mean, like, it's a highly regarded game. A lot of people love it, but like to look back at it now, surely you would think, well, we could improve that. And like,
but that's what I'm getting at. When I was talking to this about my kids the other day. 2008. I can't remember what it was. It was either a re-release of a song or a movie or something that even my kids now are in the situation where they're like, oh, hang on, that's a remake. Do you know what I mean? Even they are like, what? And what I have to remind them is that a re-release or a redoing of a game does not erase the existence of the original game, song, album, movie, TV show. So I think I'm kind of in favour of the way that like Resident Evil does it, in that they take that and it's its own thing, recognisably so, but it's different. It's very rare. Like Shadow of the Colossus was one where they just sort of did that, wasn't it? But even that had some tweaks to it. I don't know. The answer's Resident Evil 4, I guess. You didn't ask anything about the rest of it. My answer is I'm more excited for Resident Evil 4.
Monologue about remakes.
I'm really interested to see how Dead Space is going to do. Of all the games in January, that's the one I'm like, how will people take that? But the answer is I'm more excited to play Resident Evil 4.
You touched on this earlier.
Yeah.
But what would have made Fire Emblem Engage a 10 out of 10 for you?
I do think they've slightly over-egged the pudding mechanically and outside of battles, to the point where, like, if it is your first Fire Emblem, I think you'll enjoy it. But I also wonder if people be like, I'm so overwhelmed. There's a potential. I've played a lot of them. I wonder if it could overwhelm some. And because of that, I just didn't feel quite comfortable giving it 4 marks.
More than Xenoblade?
Different.
Yeah, no, I know, different. Yeah,
no is the answer, but different. No, but not in the same way.
Sorry, I've just seen the next question. Are you going to try Power Wash Simulator on Switch or PS5?
No.
I will.
I think it was
I would play it.
But the answer is just no.
but you can play it on Game Pass right now on Xbox. So I mean, what?
Yeah, but I hate Xbox and Game Pass.
Oh, sorry, I forgot. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, no, my bad. I forgot. No, I'm not. I don't. I forgot. Yeah, no, sorry. No, I don't think I will. I think this year's certainly this first part of this year is busy enough without needing to, like, I saw like Remnant from the Ashes is coming to Switch. Same answer. Don't have time. I think today they announced Session is coming to Switch. No, like, sorry, it's too busy at the moment.
I can't get on with Remnant. I've tried multiple times.
Sorry, just wondering if Mick had finished talking under his breath, so I carry on. No, we
continue.
Mumbling to yourself. Okay, last question then. So, with Persona now everywhere, what exclusive third-party franchise would you like to see come to all platforms?
Third-party franchise?
Yes, very specific. Very specific.
That isn't on other platforms.
Yes.
I might need
specific.
I might need a week to think about that, because you're asking me for what non-exclusive game do I want to see continue to be non-exclusive?
No, he's asking you for an exclusive game to be non-exclusive.
Well, it's exclusive third party. So third party game like what? I mean, basic Final Fantasy 16. There you go. Or do you know what? Actually, no.
Final Fantasy.
Final Fantasy 7 remake. I think people on Xbox should be able to play
Switch.
it. I don't think cloud version, but I think Xbox fans should get to play Final Fantasy 7 remake. So there you go.
There we go.
You got some questions here. Do you remember your first article on God is a Geek?
Now, in all honesty, I did not Google this. I actually had to look at it. Me and Steve were playing something the other day, probably Monster Hunter, and he was asking about how long I've been on the site. So I actually know what this is. It's an Into the Breach article.
It is
from back in the day. Is it actually? I think it is.
It is, yeah.
Where I'm talking about the mechanics of it and how it's really good. Can't tell you more than that without reading it, but I remember it being about Into the Breach.
I read it today.
Back in the day when I did opinion pieces.
Yeah, and to follow that up, he says, when you first started, did you think you'd become so involved years later and do some of the best guides on the site? All right, calm down, mate.
Well, I don't think my guides are the best on the site. I think the Midnight Sun's one of the best ones on the site, and I mean that not just because Mick's here. I do think they're the best ones.
Mm-hmm.
I think so.
I did some. No, never mind. Carry on.
No, it's fine. I think. I think when I first started, like when I did, obviously, I distinctly remember pitching into the Breach article to you, Adam, and some follow-up ones as well. Some you said
I remember reading it.
That sounds shit. But I didn't. I kind of hoped I would be. I remember listening to the pod and thinking it was a really good bunch of guys, and obviously, with Nick as well. I remember even playing Dark Souls 3 with Nick cooperatively, and she was saying, right for God is a geek, and I was a fan. I was a fan before I was part of the project, and so you obviously hope, don't you, that from this when you write that first article, you're like, if I could actually, this could be a thing, that would be really cool because I have respect for what the site did. So, but did I think I'd become like the main player that I am now? The person that literally everything happens through me. No, I probably didn't think that. But no, I love being here. I like working with such a great group of people.
Oh, he's going to get sappy now. You've done it.
And I am proud of what everyone does. I think our guide work is great, and I hope our audience continues to like what we do because I think we're moving in the right direction. So,
fair enough.
Yeah.
If you had unlimited time, would you rather replay the Xenoblade games, and this is so specific,
it's very specific,
Final Fantasy 14?
So, okay.
That's so specific.
It's very specific. He likes his specific questions this week. So my knee-jerk reaction would be, replay all the games I like. But no, if I had unlimited time, I think, hand on heart, I'd play something new. So of the two options, I'd be like, I don't really know much about Final Fantasy. I never played it. And obviously it's got all the online stuff now as well, hasn't it? And I've just never touched it. And
Final Fantasy 14 is online, isn't it? that's the online one,
the
isn't
online
it?
one, yeah.
It's like an MMORPG. Yeah,
that's the MMORPG.
15 then.
I'd
one of the best
scarily get invested in an
MMORPGs
MMORPG again after New World and wash my life away. But I've got unlimited time, so it's fine because I can still play that in Overwatch.
Absolutely true. Yeah. No,
so it'd be that because I'd at least play something new. And even if I didn't like it, I'd be like, well, it's not as good as Xenoblade.
Okay, so after 2 Point Hospital and 2 Point Campus, what 2 Point game would you like to see them next?
2 Point Whorehouse.
2 Point Whorehouse. So I mean, so the first thing that came to mind was that probably the obvious answer, which is like, well, just do a theme parky type one, and everyone will love it. Go back to the roots. But I thought that was cheating. But so I was like, okay, well, because like the 2 Point games are all about like, management and stuff. So my answer sounds shit, but bear with me, right? And it wouldn't be called this because I don't work in marketing. But 2 Point, like Blue Water Shopping Centre or something like that. Because like I think if you could like manage something where you could stick like a cinema, like a bowling alley, a laser quest and stuff like that, and maybe some shops, but mainly the other things I'm talking about, just like a retail park or something, I think that'd be quite cool because there could be like different ways of managing the different types of things. So like either theme park and like designing roller coasters, or like managing like different sort of social things like that. So yeah,
I'd like one of those games where you're managing something that's really, really fucking dangerous. Like how Jurassic World Evolution could have been, and it isn't really, but something where like at any point something could go wrong and just wipe out thousands of people if you don't, if you're not on the ball with it. I'd want to play something where there was like 2 Point Armageddon or something.
Yeah,
where
yeah.
I don't-
2 point lowland tsunami territory or something like that. That type of thing.
Like, something where if you screw up, everyone dies. I want to play something that's really like
2
got
point
stakes.
semi-dormant volcano. That type of thing.
Can you build a thriving civilization on the side of this volcano?
I was going to just say like 2 Point games industry, but like I would not be.
But that's similar to what I suggested.
I know. That's what I'm saying. You beat me
At
to
any
it.
moment, that can just go up in flames and does regularly.
Last question. Atelier Ryza 3 was delayed to March from February. Do you think any other February games might be pushed as well? Now, do you need me to list off some games?
No, I mean, my answer is more generic than do I think specific. I think if you're going to delay a Feb game to March, I think Atelier Ryza is the outlier, right? I think if you're going to delay something, if you're delaying it for 1 month, it's probably just sort of some very sort of specific. The game's finished. It's going to be some very specific supply chainy type thing or something.
There was a game today that's delayed a month. Transport. I can't think what it was now. I wrote a story on it. Transport Fever 2 console edition was delayed from February to March. So you'd think that's either a marketing thing or a tiny bit more bug.
Games are finished. I mean, I don't know. I'm not in game development, but they take fucking years. I don't think a month is the type of time frame.
A month's a weird delay. A month makes you go, money's involved here. Either you want to get it in or out of the financial year, or you want to get it away from something that's going to eat its lunch.
Yeah, or like you come up with a small hiccup, like I say, like a supply chain thing that says, "Oh, now we can't get that done till March." It's not like the game is the problem. It's not development. It's something else that's a bit specific. But
I do think. Like Scars Above is the game we went to a preview recently in Serbia, and like that's still just dated as February, and it's very late February, and I suspect that could slip. The game on the list
looks a bit like Returnal. That's the one that Sean previewed.
Oh yeah, that's Scars Above. Yeah,
and it looks kind of Returnally.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. Yeah. It's not that kind of game, but it is. Yeah, I get it. The game, we just haven't, unless say maybe we've just been excluded from this and everyone else has already played it. The game we've sort of seen nothing of on that list that's made me go, surprised they're not pushing that yet, is Wild Hearts. Like I'm a bit surprised we haven't seen a bit more of that, because like the Hogwarts Legacy marketing campaign has definitely ramped up. Like there's a weekly email about that game and new trailer or whatever. There's games like indie games that there's no need for them to delay them because it's what they're looking. Atomic Heart. There was a preview event recently that we couldn't make, so people have played that.
Wild Hearts is dated as well, isn't it?
February 17th. February 17th.
Yeah, and EA. I don't know. It sounds like one of those
Company
games
of Heroes 3 could slip, but I don't think it will now. They pushed it enough. Octopath Traveler is a known quantity, so they wouldn't Square sort of are a game a month now. And the only other one, like PlayStation VR, is going to dominate, a lot of February. So for me, I just wonder when we're going to see a bit more of Wild Hearts. I don't know.
And hope it's really good.
I've no reason to believe it shouldn't be. I mean, it's Koei Tecmo,
I don't
isn't
either.
it? It's not EA. It's published by EA, but it's Koei Tecmo. It's going to be. To be honest with you, it's my great hope is that it's going to be that Monster Hunter game I always wanted, the one that feels like Wo Long, if that makes sense. It feels like a
fast-paced Monster Hunter game.
Yeah, and like it's completely removed from the Monster Hunter's in a situation where they can never fully remove all the what I would call clunkiness because it's rooted in that from the 3 Ultimates, and it was always a heavy.
Yeah.
Whereas they don't have to do any of that; they could just make an action adventure, kind of character-driven thing. But yeah, I think that's it. That's all the questions, isn't it?
It is.
Okay. Play the song.
Chris Hyde. Listen to Correspondence. It's time. It's time. Chris Hyde.
I'll never get tired of just watching that and smiling to myself. That video.
There's so many facets to it.
Yeah.
You can't help. It's like you don't see the sheep every time. It's the pervy stalker on the beach. There's a lot to it.
That's you you're talking about there, by the way. There's your face.
Yeah. I'm not denying I'm a pervy stalker on the beach.
Good. That's it for this week. That's episode 509, done and dusted for the books. Next week we're going to have some more big games to talk about. Some big stuff to talk about, full stop, I think. Next week, will we have seen the Microsoft showcase? Is that next week? Have I got 25th in my head for some reason? That would be a
We Google that as well.
Wednesday, which seems unlikely but possible. Would be perfect. Just for the record, Microsoft, if it's not the 25th and you wanted to do it on the 25th,
You change it.
thank you. That would be a marvelous thing to do. Where they're going to show off Redfall and all that stuff. But we'll have some big stuff to talk about. Was I giving you enough time to Google that, or?
No, sorry, I was listening.
No, I'm sorry. I thought you were googling it.
I was so focused on what you were saying.
No,
sorry, hang on.
It's not a problem.
Fill it again. Come
okay,
on.
I think of something else to say now. It's a really good podcast about Wolong, Fire Emblem Engage, Colossal Cave, and lots of listener questions. That
masterfully done.
It's really, it's a really good podcast, wasn't it? Everybody listening and present. Chris, you're concentrating so much, and
how long does it take to type a sentence, Chris?
Yeah,
it's just not. He's coming with the wrong thing.
I mean, just type
God is a Geek Xbox.
It doesn't matter. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. The only way to be for sure is to find out next week.
25th.
Thank you. Bloody hell, I can't remember really important stuff, but that sticks. Brilliant.
That's great. Well done.
After all that, I was right in the first place. There's a fable there to be, polish your ring and obey Jeebus. That's what you guys. Thanks to Mick and Chris for being here this week.
Thank you.
I don't know if Lyle will be back next week. Only he will know because he's currently between PCs, I believe. So.
Stuck.
What?
Between two PCs.
I mean, he was in the chat.
That's where he is. He's literally wedged in between two PCs right now.
What a hellish existence that would be. But thank you very much for watching, listening. If you don't know, we have a Patreon, which you can find patreon.com/GodIsAGeek. We've got some new members recently, and it's lovely to see them in the Discord chat and say hello to them and sort of trying and work out what the hell's going on in there, because some of that, I wonder sometimes if the in-jokes are going to be a bit like, what? But that's the way we are. Thank you for having a look at that. Do subscribe on YouTube. Do follow us on social media. We're on Facebook, etc. God is a Geek. And go to the website, the actual website. Go to it, godisageek.com. That's the website.
There's good
so go
stuff
there.
On there.
There's some really good stuff on there. It's been a really
Chris
busy
has an
week.
article on there about
Into the breach.
Into the breach. So check that out.
But once again, thanks to Mick and to Chris and to everybody else. We will speak to you next week or whenever you choose to listen. Bye bye for now.